All right, I am getting an early start on this week's 52 frames. As you can see, the deadline has passed for the lines photo. So I submitted that last night on Saturday night. It's now Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern. So it is roughly 3 degrees outside. This is just crazy cold. After my lines challenge of getting up the butt crack of dawn and fighting the wind and the freezing cold, I've decided that this challenge is not going to involve going outside. Also going on travel on Friday, so short week for me. So this is going to have to get done well before then. So this week's challenge, upcoming challenge, is complementary colors. I have no idea if this is in focus, but complementary colors with extra credit for street photography. Street photography is not going to happen unless I happen to catch something on travel later in the week, but I do not see that happening. So I'm going to take this opportunity to learn some new skills. Never done any kind of a set photography, so I'm going to sit here by the nice warm fireplace, and I have arranged a bouquet of flowers that my wife got, not from me, so I'm in trouble for that one. Put some lights around it, and I'm just trying to play with some manual settings on the camera to see what I can do about setting this up. I got my 70 to 300 lens on there, and I have it set to macro mode. I've done some test shots and see how it turns out. Key point is to learn, so I've been doing a lot of manual settings, playing around with different things, different amounts of light, different places where I'm putting the light. I'm trying to get just this stargazer lily with the complementary colors being the green on the inside with the pink on the outside. Let's rock and roll. One of the first things I learned is the remote shutter is essential for this. With that macro lens, I get just way too much vibration to do it by hand. Been playing around with different shutter lengths too, and depending on the shutter lengths, it's too much to do by hand. So, remote trigger is the key. I've also been playing around with how to locate lights. Try both to intentionally get shadows and to not get shadows. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to setting up studio lights. No experience in that at all. I happen to have these real cheap studio lights from a project I did, but I've never done any kind of portrait or professional photography before, but that doesn't mean I can't learn. What little experience I have has totally been on the outdoors and landscape, so this is going to be my opportunity to avoid some very cold landscapes and stay indoors and take learn some new things. We're also going to do a test of who could focus better, the camera or I. I learned from last week's challenge at the memorial that straight auto on a landscape is way smarter than I am. In this controlled environment, locking down all other things, I'm trying to see if I can actually. My goal is to get at least as good as. I don't think I'm going to be able to beat the camera, but one of the things I think it's going to do better than me is autofocus. I've set it to center. I've picked the dots, and I can kind of put the dot on what I want it to focus on. My eye, I don't right now have a naturally trained eye for spotting focus, so I think the camera's going to do better than me, but it is something I'd like to get better at, so I'm going to give it some practice. Lesson learned from the reviewing the first round of pictures. I thought I was way too bright with all those lights, but really the colors aren't popping unless I have them really lit up like this. So I just moved the lights a little bit closer. We'll see with that. The other thing I found out is I was shooting kind of out where you get the whole flower in frame, and a couple of them I was in a little bit closer. I actually like that a little bit better, so I'm actually using a different flower this time. I plan to get really in on it, kind of focus on that green in the center and the pink on the outside. play around with the angles a little bit, maybe not exactly dead on, but that's where we're going to try that out. I also had the ISO cranked way too high on some of my manual photos, so it's kind of interesting look. Got a lot of texture, but not what I'm going for. So I'm going to try a second round of shooting. Try to get a little bit more light in there. All right, let's rock and roll. The whole shooting still lifes thing is such a novel concept to me. I find myself like, wow, I wish I had a better angle. I'm like, wait, I can move the camera, or I can reposition the subject. I can move leaves. I can change angles. So much different than shooting a landscape where the mountain really does not take direction well, or wildlife that don't tend to pose as directed. So it's an interesting thought experiment, or whatever you want to call it, learning experience. Don't know if it's working out at all. It is kind of neat that I can set the focus here, or I can set the focus down a little bit there, a little bit down there. Generally in my landscape, bigger outdoor pictures, it's set the focal depth to infinity and click away. So I'm actually playing around with the depth of field and getting to learn some more things about that. So we'll see how it all turns out.